Spring Training 2021 is now in full swing. Live from Florida, Anthony Bass of the Miami Marlins joins us next on the Beat the Shift podcast, presented by Fangraphs. Welcome to another episode of the Beat the Shift podcast. I am your host, Ariel Cohen, and with me as always, Ruvain Guy. How are you, Ruvain?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. We've got a special guest today. He is a pitcher on the Miami Marlins, entering his 10th year in the major leagues. Last year, in the short 60-game season, he had a 3.51 ERA, a 1.01 whip in 25 innings pitched with 7 saves for the Blue Jays. He produced a 62% ground ball rate and only gave up 2 barrels all season long. Welcome to the show, Anthony Bass. How are you?
Gentlemen, thank you for having me. I'm pumped.
Oh, so excited to have you. We were just talking before. Sounds like you had a good clean inning today. A good start here to the spring training. How's it going so far?
It's going well. Meeting my new teammates, new coaches. It's been a really good transition coming from Toronto. They've been very welcoming of me to the team. The training staff, they're asking me if there's anything they could do for me. Strength and conditioning coaches have been great, very open to my routines and what I like to do to make sure that my body's ready. So far, so good. My body feels strong. I've pitched in 3 games so far, trending in the right direction. My velocity's slowly ticking up as each outing comes and goes. Slider and my splitter are looking better, and just look to keep progressing until April 1st there.
Last year, you were the man to be counted on in Toronto with 26 appearances, which led the entire team amidst the playoff stretch run. So just going back to last year, if you don't mind, how was the whole 2020 experience dealing with COVID, the short season, the makeshift home park at Buffalo, and how did you enjoy the playoff experience?
It was unique last year with all the challenges and obstacles that we had to endure. A lot of the things we weren't accustomed to, as far as every other day testing and making sure that we're COVID free. And then also the 6 feet of distancing, wearing masks, living in a team hotel, encouraged not to live outside of the team hotel. It was a very abnormal season, but after the first couple weeks, you got the hang of it and it just became natural. And the Blue Jays did a great job of making Buffalo feel as major league as possible. Even though it wasn't the most ideal spot for us, we made the best of it, and I can't thank the Jays enough for really making it as close to major league as possible.
And following that crazy year last year, how did you approach this offseason compared to prior years?
So this offseason, I gave myself a chance to really rest up. Nothing crazy different from years past. I know that this year is 162. It's not 60, so I know it's going to be more of a grind. Thankfully, I've had experience doing that, so I know how to pace myself in spring training and throughout the course of the season. I know when to speak up if I need a day, if my arm's hanging, so I can finish the season strong and give the team some added late leverage situations there in October to help us, get into the playoffs.
So, you've played for a number of teams throughout your career, and, without giving away organizational secrets, what are some of the differences you've seen from team to team in the way they approached pitching and their philosophies in general?
Yeah, so the game's changed a lot. So I broke in the league in 2011. And when I broke into the league, it was all about fastball command, glove side with the Padres, keeping the ball down in the strike zone, throwing a lot of strikes. That's what we were preached. And as I've evolved and the game has evolved, everyone's pitching at the top of the strike zone, and everyone's all about spinning the baseball, getting those swings and misses. And that's when I really had to learn what works for me and what doesn't. And I figured out pretty quickly that I wasn't a huge high spin rate guy, so I needed to make adjustments. And yeah, just over the years, you just kind of can see how the game's evolved. Really, most of the organizations run pretty similarly as far as the pitching philosophies go. So that's not a huge change from organization to organization.
And you spent 2016 pitching in Japan. How was that experience, and what did you pick up while you were there?
Yeah, that was pretty much the turning point for my career. I got my confidence back. I was thrown out into the fire and had to learn a different style of baseball. Um, and once I learned how to effectively use my fastball inside to the hitters, both throwing it for a strike and using it to brush them off the plate, it made the plate look bigger and allowed me to really utilize both sides of the plate. And then I learned to throw a split finger over there by watching my teammate Shohei Ohtani. That was one of his better pitches. So I was able to watch how he used his and how he held his split to help me. And when I came back from Japan, I just had a renewed confidence in myself and my abilities, and I felt like I could get major league hitters out again.
And one other thing you probably had to change is that in the beginning of your career, you were actually a starter, and now you're a reliever. What's the difference in how you prepare for a game at this point?
Yeah, so that's interesting you bring that up because I actually had to learn how to be a reliever in the major leagues. Coming up in the minor leagues, I was a starting pitcher my whole career. So it's not always easy trying to learn how to relieve in the major leagues. But as far as routine goes, I really listen to my body and how my arm feels, knowing if I can stretch it out that day before the game, if I can play some long toss. I'm a big long toss guy. I think it really helps strengthen my shoulder and to make it free and open up. Firm believer in that, but also I'm also a believer in not throwing too much. Maybe being a reliever, you need to be available majority of the nights. So I'll back off the long tossing if I've been in games in consecutive days, and I'll back off and just go out and play some light catch before the game and make sure that I'm ready.
You're listening to the Fangraphs Beat the Shift podcast here, and we're talking with Anthony Bass of the Miami Marlins. So, we do a lot of analytics over here at Fangraphs, obviously. My question to you is, how have you seen analytics change over the last 5 years in the way that it's applied to you, in how you use it? What are your thoughts on what you're getting in terms of the numbers here?
It's super beneficial. You can make adjustments very quickly. Whereas when I first broke into the league, the hitters let me know if my stuff was good or not. Now I can throw a bullpen or a side and have a TrackMan device, and it'll tell me my spin rates, my spin efficiency, velocity, obviously, how much horizontal break I'm getting on my slider, for example, and my two seam fastball. So it's good to see those numbers so I can kind of manipulate maybe my grip or my release point on a certain pitch to make them tunnel longer together or make them look as much alike as possible, because that's the big thing is making your pitches look the same.
Okay, and now you actually stopped using your changeup a couple of years ago when actually you went to the split finger when you were in Japan. How did that come about, and is there anything new you're working on for this year, like a new pitch or a new grip or something like that?
Yeah, my changeup, it was a very probably more so below average major league pitch, honestly. I wasn't getting a whole lot of swings and misses on it. Wasn't able to really command it as well as I would like to. Wasn't able to throw it for a strike as often. So one of my high school teammates, Matt Shoemaker, with at the time was with the Angels. We were catch partners in the off season, and he started showing me how he threw his and how he held his, because he always had issues trying to throw a circle changeup. So I picked his brain and I started throwing it probably in the offseason of 2014 going into 2015 with the Rangers there. And I just kept throwing it, kept throwing it. It's one of those pitches where the more you throw it, the more of a feel you get for it. It's still a work in progress. It's my third best pitch, but it's really allowed me to neutralize left-handed hitters so they know that I have something kind of fading away from them that's slower. And then I also have my slider that's coming into them hard. And then also, obviously, my two-seam fastball.
So we had Randy Dobnak of the Twins on earlier this offseason, and we were talking about pitching coaches and how they affect them. And he was saying that his father was the most influential person to him in terms of teaching him stuff and being his own pitching coach. Do you have a favorite coach or a memorable coach along the way that really stuck with you and had the most influence on you over your career?
Oh, man, I've had so many good pitching coaches and just so many just positive people. I think that's the biggest takeaway is the pitching coaches I've had that have really just made me feel like I was the best pitcher on the mound in that given moment, in that given day. Those are the ones that I remember the most. I think my first minor league pitching coach, Dave Racich, with the San Diego Padres, I felt like he was a big believer in myself, even more so when I felt like I wasn't that good. I felt like he thought I was the best pitcher he's ever seen. So um, he was very special in my career, especially being the first pitching coach to really lay eyes on me. So he still watches me pitch, and he'll text me from now and then, and we'll continue our conversations throughout the season if he sees anything that looks a little off. So he's probably been the most influential pitching coach I've had in my career.
Well, that's fantastic.
And speaking of impressions, are there any players or a player on the Marlins right now that have impressed you so far this spring?
There's quite a few, honestly. The starting rotation that we have on this team, no one's over the age of 25 years old, and our number 5 pitcher Trevor Rogers potentially is sitting 96 to 98 in his first start with a wipeout. Was it a wipeout changeup or slider? I can't remember, but I'm like, dang, like this is an impressive group of arms. So I'm really excited to see this group grow this year. I know that 162 is a different animal. I also understand that, for example, Sixto hasn't experienced this kind of workload potentially. So I know the staff understands that and they know this, so they'll be careful with his workload this season. But that's where we come in the bullpen. Pick up any innings that they can't finish or need help with, and get that team that win.
So that makes you the old man on campus, I guess.
I'm not the oldest. I'm older.
Older.
Yeah. Wanted to ask you, you've been talking about, workload and getting to it. I think everybody is in a similar boat. The fact that last year was only a 60-game season, and it wasn't just the fact that it was 60 games. It was start and stop. You had the 2 different spring trainings, the ramp up, ramp down. We see that, looking at the analytics, we see that pitchers' innings have gone down. Starting pitchers' innings have gone down all throughout baseball, and people are employing more of the Rays type strategy where we're bringing in pitchers in different situations, taking out starters early. Do you think that that's going to continue into 2021 because of A, analytics, and also B, because of just ramping up back from the short season last year?
Yeah, I think teams will definitely be wary of, I think, younger pitchers. Maybe the veteran starting pitchers, I think, will have a little bit more of you can go deeper into games, but the younger guys might have a little bit tighter of a leash. I also understand that there's a trend in baseball that third time through the lineup for a starting pitcher statistically isn't the best. So you'll see a lot of quick hooks from organizations that are kind of built on that philosophy and are basically buying into it. So you might be seeing a lot of pitchers being pulled that third time through the lineup.
And you mentioned the strength and conditioning coach that you were talking about. So far I've seen a lot of rash of injuries and a lot of muscle injuries, not necessarily major injuries, but muscle injuries. Have they taught you anything new to keep your body in shape so that you don't fall into that habit of, let's say, pulling an oblique or having an issue like that?
They haven't really told me I need to change anything because my routine right now is I feel like it's pretty solid. I know what I need to do to be ready and compete at the highest level possible. For me, it's more so making sure I maintain my body weight. I have a tendency to get lean, which isn't a bad thing, but in sports, you definitely need some fat. You can't pull fat, as they say. You pull muscle. So I need to make sure that I keep eating my food, making sure that I'm staying right around 12% of body fat is usually when I'm feeling my best. So as of right now, they haven't tweaked any of my lifting programs or how I warm up or prepare. They're just kind of more observing right now. But I told them, look, I'm all open. If you have any ideas for me that can help me, please let me know. So they understand where I'm coming from.
Right. It's only been a few weeks into spring training so far.